If you have some liquid in a U-tube and you briefly blow into one end to displace it, then afterwards the liquid will oscillate up and down, as you can see in the video clip. You can see in these clips that if you have a longer length of liquid, then it oscillates with a longer time period. Let's see if we can understand why the liquid oscillates. I've marked in where the liquid is to start with, and I'll call that the equilibrium position. So let's displace the liquid and then pause the video there. We can now see that we've got all this extra length of liquid which will have its own weight and be creating an extra force down on all the liquid below it, and that will cause the liquid below it to accelerate. And you might think that that would cause the liquid to go back to the equilibrium position, and you'd be right, but when it reaches the equilibrium position it's already moving the other way, and so it goes past it, and the process repeats, except this time from the other side. It's quite heavily damped, so after a few oscillations it stops. Now let's see if we can prove that it undergoes simple harmonic motion and what the time period we would expect it to have. To do this, I'm going to define a few things. I'm going to call the whole length of liquid all the way around the tube L. And I'm going to call the circular cross-section of the U-tube A, and the density of the liquid ρ. And finally, x is going to be the distance the liquid is away from the equilibrium position. So let me displace the liquid so I can mark on x, and I'm going to define this direction as positive. I'm going to use Newton's second law, F equals ma, to prove what's going on. The force on the column of liquid is going to come from all the liquid which is above the level on the other side. So all of this length here, which is actually going to be of length 2x, because if this has gone up by x, this side has gone down by x, and therefore this extra length of liquid on this side is going to be 2x. So I can work out the weight of all of that liquid by, first of all, working out the volume of it, then its mass, and then working out its weight. The volume of this extra bit of liquid is going to be its cross-sectional area A times the length of this, which is going to be 2x. The mass of this extra bit of liquid will therefore be the density times its volume, and the volume I can just replace with the 2xa I just worked out to give 2 rho xa. Finally, remembering that the weight is just the mass times the gravitational field strength, I can work out that the extra weight of the liquid is going to be 2 rho xag. I'm now going to move that up to give myself a little bit more space. This weight of the extra liquid is going to be my force in the F equals ma, but I just need to be careful that because it's acting down and I define that way as positive, I'm going to need a minus sign. I'm now going to try and replace the m with an expression for the mass of all of the liquid, which, remember, has a length L. And so in a very similar way to working out the mass of the extra liquid, I can say that the mass of the whole thing is going to be rho LA, because L times A gives me the volume, and then I multiply it by the density. So let's replace the M in the MA with rho LA. We can now see that a few things cancel. The rho cancels, the A cancels, and if I now divide both sides by L, that will give me that the acceleration is equal to minus 2xg over L. Let me move that up, and then let me write it in a slightly easier form of A equals minus 2g over L times x. The condition for simple harmonic motion is that the acceleration must be proportional to minus the displacement, and since g, the acceleration due to gravity or the gravitational field strength, and the length of the column of liquid are both constant, a, the acceleration is indeed proportional to minus the displacement. Let's now compare that to the general equation for simple harmonic motion, which is a equals minus omega squared x. If we compare these two equations, it is clear that omega squared is equal to 2g over L. But omega is equal to 2 pi over the time period, so let's replace in this equation omega with 2 pi over the time period, which we can rewrite as 4 pi squared over the time period squared equals 2g over L. Now, since we've got fraction equals fraction, we can flip both sides, and that gives us time period squared divided by 4 pi squared equals L over 2g. Once again, let's move things up to give us a bit more space. And now we can multiply both sides by 4 pi squared to give time period squared equals 4 pi squared times L over 2g. And let's finally take the square root of both sides, which simplifies down to t equals 2 pi square root of L over 2g. And that gives our final equation for the time period for the oscillations of a liquid in a U-tube as 2 pi times the square root of the length of the column of liquid divided by 2 times the acceleration due to gravity. We have made a few assumptions in our derivation. We've ignored the viscosity of the liquid, we have ignored the friction between the sides of the tube and the liquid, but nevertheless this equation will work reasonably well. And it fits with our observation at the start of the video that the time period increases as the length of the column was made longer. So let's finish by watching that liquid oscillate in the U-tube one more time.